Regular expenditure by national and provincial departments has risen to 166 billion rand in the 2020-2021 financial year. It's an increase of more than 30% from the 109 billion rand from the previous year. Auditor-General Tsakani Maluleke yesterday presented the audit outcomes for the 425 government departments and state-owned entities. There are now 115 departments with clean audits compared to 109 of last year. The departments and SOEs are responsible for managing an expenditure budget of 1.9 trillion rand. Director of Stellenbosch University School of Leadership, Professor Ndevu, joins me now to reflect on some of the outcomes. Professor Ndevu, very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. The Auditor-General yesterday described the report essentially as a mixed bag of encouraging developments that must be noted, of course, combined with the many challenges that still persist. What's your take on what was released yesterday?
Good morning to me and good morning to your listeners. You're correct, it is a mixed bag because we are seeing progress but at a very small margin or at a snail pace, and we are also seeing transgression in some of the areas, so that has to be worrisome situation that we are seeing more and more of that.
115 auditees obtained clean audit outcomes compared with 109 in the previous year. That really is quite a telling picture of where we're going and where we're headed when it comes to the importance of these financial audits.
Yes, in a country where we have seen the worst, I think this is an improvement. This is worth celebrating that there is at least a movement to ensuring that departments and units do improve their controls and their management of these scarce public resources. However, if you dive down into that report, you would realize that departments that are important, such as health and some state-owned enterprises, as you indicated earlier on, they are still struggling with that. And this is worrisome. If you are in the middle of a pandemic and your health department does not have proper control mechanisms, then one has to worry about that.
And in fact, there is a lot to worry about because the departments have the greatest effects on the lives of citizens jointly responsible for delivering essential services. And they use almost a third of government's expenditure budget, which really speaks to the importance of service delivery and the ripple effect that comes with the overall outcome and delivery of these essential services.
That is correct. If you have a Department of Health, a Department of Education, and the Department of Human Settlement, for example, and do not have control mechanism in place, or they are high irregular expenditure, we know that might not necessarily mean corruption, but it might mean that the resources have not been used what they were intended for. And in most cases, what they were intended for is service delivery, and they go elsewhere. And that becomes a challenge that one has to deal with, because the people who suffer the most if the resources are not used correctly, if services is not delivered as it should be in accordance with the planning, then the ordinary people, the masses of the people that are poor, are not going to get services. And that is going to have a ripple effect in our economy and all other spheres of government as well.
And in fact, if you make mention of the economy, we know that the picture is much wider because those who do deliver the services are essentially also waiting for payment, which has also been noted as a factor of concern.
Yes, I think that we have been in this particular situation for a very long time, where we say those who are providing services must be paid within a particular period to encourage them and to ensure that those entities are sustainable and the people that provide those services are motivated to do business or have confidence to do business with government. And if that does not happen, that would hamper service delivery ultimately. And I think for me, what is lacking and what the AG has came out strongly on is lack of consequence management. Everybody looks to the AG to provide these consequence management when political leadership and administrative leadership should take initiative to ensure that there are consequences where there is no delivery of services.
We also saw concerns over a lack of improvement when it comes to SOEs. The AG noting that, saying that most of which did not even, obtain clean audits. Really speaking and putting attention on the internal management, the internal policies and processes that need to be rectified.
Yes, that's the sector. The SOEs are a sector that we see a high number of bailouts, interventions that have happened there, and all of them talks to lack of proper systems of accounting and financial management. And that has to do with leadership in this institution. That has to do with the political will in this institution to ensure that they turn around, to ensure that they deliver services more effectively and efficiently. And we know that these SOEs are very crucial a mechanism or implementing agencies for provision of service delivery. And I think something drastic needs to be done, an intervention that would ensure that we stop this trajectory, we stop this perpetuation of bailouts, this perpetuation of lack of control mechanisms should be implemented with immediate effect to stop this catastrophic trajectory that we are taking.
And Professor, in taking stock of what the Auditor-General had to say about overall good governance and the efforts that need to be made to ensure that we are indeed heading towards that direction, she spoke a lot about the improvement and implementation of basic disciplines of financial management, which really need to be enforced and normalized in these institutions.
Yes, I think the emphasis should be on credible performance plans that are put in place to ensure that we operate in accordance with practice and standards that are acceptable. Secondly, to ensure that there is consequence management, applicable consequence management, effective systems that are put in place to hold those that are expected to manage resources accountable for their actions. And lastly, an engaged political leadership that would ensure that there is accountability, there is oversight in terms of the resources that are used by this public institution. And if you have that combo of principles being implemented, then you are likely to get the desired results.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time and analysis. Let's leave it there for now. Professor Zwelinzima Ndevu, who is Director of Stellenbosch University School of Leadership, reflecting on some of the outcomes of the Auditor General's report unveiled yesterday.